What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Collective Podcast, where we're going to be talking about we're still standing in an industry where it feels like everybody is, getting a job, a part-time job, doing something else. Everybody is moving along, coming back later. Guys, we're still here, and we made it through a pretty brutal season. And so I'm excited to get this conversation going. Excited to have both of you guys on with us. We will miss the third member of the trio who is unable to be here with us. But guys, y'all outdate me. Y'all have been here years before I ever even thought about showing up to this thing. And so, Shane, these are two of your boys.
These are my OGs. These are my OGs.
Let's dig in.
Well, I think what's most exciting for me is it's not watching people be successful. Anyone can have success in a good market. It's watching people how they navigate challenges.
Yeah.
And you guys have friends where you see a friend have a tough time in their life and they don't make it out of it, right? And then you have people like Shawn and Candido who kind of remake themselves, rebuild their business, rebuild their brand, rebuild their mindset. And so today we really wanted to just dig in with a couple of guys who've been around with us, who are originators day in and day out, who are working weekends, choosing not to work weekends, hiring staff, firing staff, building branding, scrapping that and building new branding, getting technology, onboarding it, trying it, getting frustrated with it. Like, these are guys that are in the trenches. That phrase gets oftentimes overused, but these are guys in the foxholes. And really, as we were sitting down talking before this, Kyle, it was kind of just a thought around defining success, because success in, let's call it the market boom, was anyone could be exceptional. And I want to hear from Shawn and Candido, their honest assessment of themselves during that time. Because I know for me, the numbers would say, dude, Shane, you killed it. Like, you killed it, right? But the reality was, in my wallet, maybe, but not my health, not my marriage, not building something that would be really, really good in a bad market. I built something that would be good in a good market. That's easy to do. And so it's looking back at that boom and really just kind of talking through what was that like. And really then kind of this transition from 2023, which was, if you're the last man or woman standing, you won, right? Like, you won. That was success in 23. And now we're in 24 and we're kind of getting to the tail end of the year. And what's your success looked like this year? And then what's success going to be like in the next market? Because I truly believe that we had an exceptional market with pretty much average people. And how do we have exceptional people in an exceptional market? What will that do for your business, your family, your legacy? So guys, thank you for being here.
Woo.
How would you summarize kind of going from the market boom through this transitionary period in the last 12 to 24 months and really looking forward to next year? And Shawn, that's a lot of questions. I'm going to take you first, because I think you're the oldest OG in the room. Kind of talk us through just briefly, what were you, if you could look back at yourself in the boom, how would you, honest assessment, what would you say about yourself? How would you describe yourself in that market? How did you navigate the transition, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, those are all great questions, Shane. And you're right. We are still standing. In fact, so much I play some Elton John in the morning every day when I get up. So,
do you really play Elton John every day?
No,
I mean, I don't ever play Elton John.
Standing. Come on.
The version from Sing.
It just doesn't motivate
The version
me like
from
rap
Sing.
music
There you go.
does.
The version from Sing.
But really, during the boom,
Yeah.
man, during the boom, it's it's funny. I'll contrast it like this. During the 2020, 2021, and first half of 22, during that boom, it felt like I could do no wrong, right? Like I could, I could spend as much time in the office as possible doing whatever I needed to do, and it didn't matter. Like the loans were just coming in, and not to say that I was doing things really badly, but I just felt like I could do no wrong. Contrast that with, say, last year, where it became blatantly obvious at some of my processes were broken. And in the boom, we didn't have time to sit there and analyze our processes. We didn't have time to dissect our systems, our scripting, our transactional quality. And we're just trying to get everything through as fast as possible. Phones were ringing off the hook. So going from that to seeing that start to fade in the second half of 2022, and then it come to a pretty screeching halt in 2023. And I have no problem sharing this, but like 2020 was my biggest production year. Now, I wasn't the guy that went from doing 25 million to 100 million, but I went from doing in the 20s to mid 30 million mark in 2020. And just to be very transparent, in 2023, I did like 10.7 million, and it was a gut punch. It was a total gut punch, but it really opened my eyes to the nature of my business. And really, when I say the nature of my business, so historically, a lot of my business has been work with a lot of real estate agents who are doing a very like 2, 3, 4, 5 transactions a year. And I would get 1 to 2 of those. And I just had a lot of agents that were sending me onesies and twosies. And I had a very, very small number of agents that I was doing a lot of transactions with. And so when 2023 hits and all of those agents that are doing 1 to 5 transactions a year start doing 0 to 0 transactions a year, then, all of those onesie twosies that I was getting in my business went away. And it was a dramatic part of my business. So, you mentioned the word reinvent. I'm having to completely reinvent how I do my business and the type of partners that I build relationships with. So that way, when I go through these roller coasters of seasons, when these seasons shift, it's not as I don't see a giant impact on my business. At least not negatively. I don't mind for those positive ones when we see those upswings, but we gotta minimize those downturns.
So Shawn, let me ask you something real quick. When was it that you realized that your strategies, tactics were flawed?
I would say probably starting into the summer of 2023, right? Rates were starting to rise. And it was more about the strategy of how I was generating business. And I've always been relatively dialed in with my systems and my processes, my communication, but it was the strategy of how I was going about and getting business. So probably the beginning of summer of 2023 is when that really started to impact me. And I started to take a step back and look at it. It's like, okay, well, where was the bulk of my business from prior to 2020? And looking at it, I was like, man, that's where it really shot me in the face. And it was like, okay, it was just a bunch of onesies and twosies. It was just with a lot of real estate agents. And then 2023 rolls around, they're not doing as much business. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't sustain that many relationships with agents that are not doing any business or very much business at all. Heck, I would imagine that half the agents I did business with in 2019 are no longer in the business. So yeah, summer of 2023 is when it really hit me, and I had to take a step back and I analyzed my business and said, I've got to shift how I do things. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle for a longer time.
So let's pause then on the questions I asked, and I want to get to the second part, which is kind of the transition and looking forward. Candido, for you, looking back, yeah, same question. Kind of how do you assess yourself now, knowing what you know now, looking back, and again, that kind of this thought of, were we average in an exceptional market, or were we exceptional? And again, there are some stories of people who were exceptional, right? And now, yeah, there's those out there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it kind of all starts back with the reason why I found this group was because I was absolutely crushing it back in 2020, 2021. And, not to dive too deep into this, but yeah, I realized once my wife had a talk with me, and, it's one of those things where it's not something that I'm particularly proud of. But yeah, we had a pretty serious talk. Anytime that my phone vibrated, I was running into the other room, getting, yep, I got another deal. This is great. Well, is it great? It's like I just had another baby. Well, I didn't. My wife did. But we just had our second kid, and it was definitely something where I needed to figure out. Okay, there's more than one way to do this and to be successful. So, I think. Kind of fast forward a bit. Obviously, these last few years have been up and down. I want to say, to me, the biggest thing that's kind of gotten me through all of this was having people to hold me accountable. Right. We host the Relo show, but even before that, Sean, Mark, and I had been meeting, and every single week. And the nice thing is we are in different parts of the country. We're in different markets, but you know what? We deal with the same problems. We deal with the same successes. And to be able to rely and almost have a sounding board. Sean was sick the other day, so Mark and I met, and honestly, a lot of that meeting was me just kind of letting it all out, because sometimes that's what we need. And I almost think it helps that we're with different companies, just because kind of the same exact thing. Look, different companies, but we all deal with the same sort of issues. So for me, being able to, I guess, get through these tough times, in knowing that I have the support of these guys on the other side, is really what helps drive me and get me through everything.
I love that, man. All right, so how are you guys making this shift? So, the things that we did that got us to where we were aren't the things we'll do that will get us to where we want to go. And so question one, what are the things that you're, kind of closing out 2024 have been your key focuses to grow your business? And then I'll pause and and I'll kind of get into redefining success for 25.
Yeah, I can jump on that. So, I was at a Tom Ferry summit a few weeks ago. And you're like, well, you're a loan officer. What are you doing at Tom Ferry summit? He was talking about getting more listings for agents. And one of the things that I thought was pretty astounding there, and promise getting to a point. One of the things that I thought was astounding there were some stats that through July of this year, from January to July 31st of this year, out of the roughly 1 million agents across the country, 74% had closed 0 transactions. Mm. And that really, really got me thinking. And so as far as the shift for me, what that means is I can no longer do onesie twosies. I can't say, hey, let me meet with this one person and then this one person and then this one person. And gosh, I hope I hope we hit it off. And B, I hope they're doing enough business where it makes sense for me to invest my time, energy, and resources. And so I made the shift probably about a month and a half ago, where I told myself I was simply going to focus on activities that were going to get me in front of the most amount of real estate agents possible. So for me, that was a shift towards classes. I'm starting to teach a lot more classes, to the point of I want to be teaching, 3 to 4 classes to real estate agents a month at minimum. Because if I can get in front of a room of 20 real estate agents, and then I get 20 contact information, and then I get to go sift and sort and say, of these 20, hey, they may all be awesome people, but of the 20, what are the 2 or 3 that make the most sense for me to go after a relationship with? And instead of having to say one person, oh, I hope this person is, I get to pick from a pool versus just one at a time. And so my methodology going forward is get in front of as absolute many people as possible. On the consumer side too, I'm looking to start up online home buyer webinars just to get in front of as many people as possible, and then almost cherry pick the right relationships for my business to accelerate the number of quality relationships that I can build, not only with consumers but with real estate agents.
I love that. It's so well timed. I got a text message this morning from an LO who I've been coaching on exactly that, to get into teaching classes. And the goal is to create something that you can repeat, right? And so what our framework has been, for those of you who say, you know, I need to teach more classes like Shawn, I had her create a class every quarter. So she's going to teach 4 classes a year on the topics that real estate agents think they want to know. So it's not necessarily what we know they need to know, which is time management, budgeting, you know, doing what you say you're going to do, and CRM. It's AI, it's lead generation. Because again, the educational class for an LO to an agent is all about building that conversation, creating that next conversation, right? And so she just taught her first class ever, and she used to be a real estate agent. So it's very interesting. And she texted me this morning. She goes, guess what? She goes, I just got invited to teach again with Remax, which is it's a big real estate company out here on the West Coast. And she said, I did my class on AI and I nailed it, and they want me to come back and teach again. And that's the reality. Now, to your point, Shawn, there's maybe 50 agents, 70 agents on that digital call. Out of those 70, 5, 10,
Yep.
do any business,
5 to 10,
right? But she didn't do 70 one-on-one coffee appointments to figure out the 10. She did one 45-minute class. She actually thought it was going to be a 15-minute class on AI, and then they told her she had like an hour. So he said, hey, teach like a 30, 40-minute class and then leave the rest open for conversation. And so she was able to teach one thing to one audience, have 70 people engage, and now she gets to pick who she takes that conversation further with. And then what's really cool about that is I said to her, I hesitated. I was going to ask her one question. I asked her a different question. I said, how are you going to take that? What did I say here? I said, I'm looking back, and I said, so I said, so who are you going to teach that to next? That same class, not another class, the same class. Right. And this is what Kyle does. Kyle perfects a curriculum and then speaks on that curriculum, the same curriculum, to multiple audiences. And from that, people will say, I want to work with Kyle. I want to work with his companies. I want to work with the collective. It's super powerful. Education is huge. It's a little bit of what we're really talking about inside the collective. It's a little bit of community. You get together, you know, people during COVID were not in community, right? People are getting together in community. It's a little bit of apprenticeship. Hey, let me show you how to do this thing. And it's a little bit of mentorship, right? I'm going to come alongside you and I'm going to teach you about AI in a little bite, a little Costco sample bite, which those who like it then are going to say, hey, Shawn, can I grab coffee? I want to dig in on this more.
Yeah. And, you know, and I had a really good success story. So I mentioned the Tom Ferry Summit. I met a title rep at the Tom Ferry Summit. We had a super, like, maybe 2-minute conversation. I talked to him about, hey, I really like teaching classes. Like, oh, I love teaching classes too. Fast forward a week later. Not even a week later, it was like the following Monday. I text him just to follow up and say, hey, it was great meeting you. Let's get together for coffee. Love to talk more. 30 minutes later, he messages me. He goes, dude, I'm so glad that you followed up with me. I'm actually supposed to be teaching a class this Wednesday to an entire real estate team. And I'm not going to be able to make it. And the class was supposed to be Google Business Profile, which happened to be exactly what I mentioned that I like to teach at the Tom Ferry Summit to him. He's like, dude, I don't know anybody else that can teach this. I don't know you. Can you teach this for me? And so I went to the Monument Realty out here and taught the class. They've got me booked for 2 more classes before the end of the year.
So let me ask you something, Shawn, and then we're going to get to Candido. Same question, kind of like, what were some of the things that you're really leaning into now? Sometimes you're the student, sometimes you're the teacher, and sometimes you're the material. So you're the material for a second here. You taught this class to agents. what was your follow-up? What was the, like, how did you end that class? Like, what was your internal outcome that you wanted? And how did you really take it from class to next step?
Yeah. So I've got a
Briefly,
couple
Shawn, we're
of,
running out of time. Briefly.
yeah, I know. I don't do anything briefly, right? Okay. So, well, I've got a private Facebook group for real estate agents. So I'm always looking to make sure that when I teach a class, I get everybody in that group.
Okay.
I was able to nail that down. And then I cherry pick the agents that I want to set up one-on-ones with. So I was able to set up 8 one-on-one Zoom meetings with agents from that meeting, from that class that I taught. And I've already started to get referrals from a couple of those agents that I set up those Zoom meetings with.
Cool.
And so it's class into, put them into my ecosystem, and then set up meetings with the ones that I want. And then, develop that relationship with just future, continuing to reach out, provide value, and stay in front of them.
So here's one thing you can do to make that exercise, the effort you put into that class, even better. What I would do is reach out to the people at that brokerage that matter to people at other brokerages. Okay. Whether that's your designated broker, the top people that the other companies are recruiting, and get their feedback from the class. Because then what you'll do is you'll get a testimonial from Candido, the top producing agent, the Top Gun, the up and comer. And he's going to say, Shawn's class on Google My Business was awesome. I had never thought about that before. We met after that, and the strategies I implemented are going to help me grow my business. You take those testimonials, and now you create an engagement. And Mark Perkins, one of the top, I don't even want to say top agents, runs one of the top brokerages, real estate brokerages in all of Cincinnati. He does this script where you then record a video and you'd reach out to that new broker that you want, the brokerage that you want to teach the class to, same class. And you say, hey, Kyle, hey, it's Shane over at Dwell Mortgage. Hey, I just wanted to share a quick testimony. I'm going to drop the image in this conversation, but would love to come meet with your people and show your people how to leverage Google My Business into an amazing organic lead generation machine. My class is typically 15 to 20 minutes long. Let me know when your next meeting is that I can come join. I'll drop that testimonial right below this. I don't know a lot of DBs who are like, Shawn, I don't want my people to learn lead gen. I have all my classes nailed down for the next 12 months. I know what I'm going to be talking about on all of my company calls. That's not the reality. So that's how you can take something that's good and make it excellent, right? Make it exceptional. And really, because then again, every time you teach that same one class, you get more testimonials, more feedback, go to the next broker, next brokerage, do the same thing. And then your next class is 3 months later. For 3 months, you teach that class once a week. So that's anywhere from 10 to 12 times you teach that class to audiences, right? Then that creates one-on-ones. Those one-on-ones then get put into your funnels, get put into your nurture campaigns, get put into your Friday market updates, start to get your drip commentary on DPA programs, whatever. So again, you go from non-mortgage content to non-mortgage strategy sessions to mortgage funnel, right? And then you just keep repeating that over and over and over again. So that I think that could be something that you could, and maybe you're already doing that, but that can be a way you can take something cool, good effort, but make that $100 an hour task. That becomes like a $5,000 an hour task when you do it that way.
Well, and just real quick, I'll say, I mean, that's kind of a critical point, because it's taking the hard work you've already done and stretching out as far as it will go.
Yeah. 100%. All right, Candido, we're running short, but same thing for you, kind of something that you're really leaning into as you kind of move from, the down years through the kind of the year of like, I'm just alive and I'm kind of refocusing to 25 and 26.
Yeah, so I'll take a different approach to this. Mindset. I think it all starts with you. For me, I figured out my non-negotiables, this year going into 2024, and I'm going to continue it until I can't stand anymore. But I get 10,000 steps a day. I know it sounds stupid, but there's only been 4 days that I haven't. It's funny. I actually almost every day, except for when I want the algorithm to kind of reset, I'll take a picture of my watch, and we call it wrist pics. We take a wrist pic, And I'll post it to my stories, and I'll tell you what, that's actually created quite a few conversations when I'm out and about, when I'm meeting with realtors and so on and so forth. So I know it sounds weird, sounds funny, but look, I'm 38. I was an athlete in college. I'm in the best shape of my life, and every single morning I make sure I start the same exact way. And while I'm working out, I listen to a podcast every single day of the week. So it's something that I start the day the same way every single day, and it really gets me going. It sets my day up for success.
So Wes Wyrick, one of my great friends, has an incredible story of weight loss. Oh, his weight loss journey. And I mean, just it like when you hear how he got picked on and made fun of, and what finally was that catalyst to lose, like, I think a couple 100 pounds. We were working out one day I think it was in Denver, out in this really cool grass like courtyard. And as we were sitting there and we were all tired, we asked this question, and Wes's answer, why was it so important to exercise daily and do these things and lose weight, he said this quote that I love: I want to be built to lead. And like, if I'm not in good shape, I can't be built to lead. Right. And it's like, and I need to be I need to be in a, like, fit to lead. Right. I need to be in a position where, because you look at these people who own these companies and they're 400 pounds and you're like, when's that guy going to have a coronary? Right. Like, that doesn't evoke a lot of confidence long term. And that's outside looking in, but inside looking out, I know that when I sleep better, I drink less alcohol, drink more water, do these different things, I feel better. I show up better for my mom, for my daughter, my wife, my family,
Exactly.
my mortgage company, everybody. And so what you're describing is being built to lead.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I think that people talk about the least, but suffered the most during the market boom. Right? Like, nobody was saying like, well, just wanted to celebrate the fact that my cholesterol went up 100 points and haven't seen my wife in, 6 days. And my daughter kind of forgets who I am because I missed her last 3 dance recitals. But I'm built to lead, man. Look at my wallet. That's not what took place. People go, man, so blessed to have such top production and so thankful. So many great clients closing this month. And I'm humbled to be in the Scotsman Guide top 10%. Like, it was all about the revenue. It was all about the units, all about the volume, nothing about being built to lead. So thank you for highlighting that, man. Super powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kyle.
As we wrap this up, I have one question that I've been holding this entire time. I want to know, because we all know how powerful accountability is. We also, if we're not careful, can just have, the frat boy hangout, and we don't really call anybody out on their crap. We know somebody shouldn't have said what they just said, and we just don't really care. What is the harshest thing that one of the three of you have said to one of the three of you?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do we have the little bleep out things? Are we live?
Yeah, well, you could. I mean, we're grown adults here. You say whatever you want.
Yeah, Candido, what comes to your mind, man? I know, like,
when you and Mark talk politics, I tend to opt out of those conversations, because usually they happen at 11 o'clock at night and I'm already asleep. But I don't know. Let's see.
I mean, I'll say that I've been, the guys have definitely called me out on, I've accidentally missed a couple of our non-live meetings, like our pre-show meetings and stuff like that. And they'll be quick to call me out and be like, hey man, you got to get your shit together and get on these calls. Like we got to come up with a topic. I don't know, from an accountability standpoint, like we discuss our goals and what we're struggling with. I guess we've become more of a support group than an accountability group, man. We got to get back to that. So I guess I'm calling us out right now, is like, we got to stop being pansies and start actually saying, putting these things down, and when they don't get done, we need some serious we need some serious heat our way.
Kyle and I talked about this, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago. We were in Indiana and Cincinnati, and we were having these, well, mostly myself and Mark were having these like long, deep, intense conversations. Mark is a guy who asks very probing, deep questions. And one of the things that came out of that was you're not, none of us have enough time. So the things we do, we should be very intentional about what we do. If you're going to spend time with somebody in a business setting with the hope of growing your business, you need to be around people. And I believe only around people from this characteristic that challenge your limiting self-belief or beliefs.
Yeah.
And so like when I worked with David Goggins, he made me so uncomfortable. Now, some of those things that he challenged me on, I just fundamentally disagreed with. He wanted me to divorce my wife because all he cared about was this one thing, right? But 80% of his guidance was pushing me past the place that I was comfortable being. But I don't want to be David Goggins. I have a 3.5-year-old that I would kill David Goggins for if I could. I'd find a way if I needed to for my daughter, right?
I hope he hears this.
But well, it's the motivation of a father, right? Any of us, if we had to protect our kids, would do anything.
Absolutely.
I would never give up that relationship for any level of physical fitness. Now, again, what a guy like David would argue is you don't have to. You can do all these things. But my point being is he pushed me past my point of comfort to a place of extreme discomfort, but not pain. He wasn't harming me. And so what a good coach, what a good accountability group should do is make you extremely uncomfortable. If you're getting together with your buddies and you're high-fiving mediocrity, that's a fraternity, right? They're the guys who sleep in after having an all-night kegger. I want to be the guy at 5 a.m. who's jogging to the library because I'm putting myself through law school. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, that's, I think, what's so impactful about true, authentic accountability. But what we don't want is somebody who's trying to make you them. Like David wasn't trying to make me David. David was just trying to break me of the habits that we all have, these limiting self-beliefs, allowing other people to dictate my momentum, right? And so I think for you two, what Kyle and Kyle asked the question and I'll put out the challenge. If you're not making each other extremely uncomfortable, don't call it an accountability group. Just call it hanging out with your friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like You guys are now friends and that's amazing. Like that's awesome. That's what comes out of true, authentic community. And we got a whole class coming up about how digital relationships can be so much more impactful than in-person ones. And you guys are a testament to that. But if you guys are going to meet every week to grow your business, you better grow your business and whatever, and however you define that to be. And that's for anyone listening to this call. If you do something with regularity, if you commit to something, if you commit to going to the gym and your scale isn't showing that you're losing weight, gaining muscle, you're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. Whether the wrong gym, the wrong people, the wrong diet, the wrong time, but you're doing it wrong. And so the results will dictate if you're surrounding yourself with the right people in the right way.
It's good.
Well, and I'll throw this out there. It's so, and I may have mischaracterized a little bit. I mean, we spend a lot of time in our individual call going over what's working in our business, what's not working in our business, celebrating the actual wins, and not celebrating mediocrity, but celebrating actual wins. And, when there are challenges, we're brainstorming and we're talking about, okay, well, what are some things that can be done? What can you do? Or here's some ideas on how to overcome some of those challenges. So to some degree, are we, the truest definition of like accountability group? Like, is Candido saying, hey, I'm going to do this by this date, otherwise I have this consequence? I would say no. We're doing less of things like that. But we're definitely proactively working on solving challenges for each other and focusing on the wins that are actual wins and not just saying, oh, well, you got an app today. It's the first one in a month. Way to go. It's like, well, no, that wasn't good because I need more than one app in a month to be successful. Right.
Yeah. And I think we're not afraid to call each other out. It takes I do feel like it does take a while to get to that point. But I'm pretty comfortable in saying if I was doing something wrong or it something that needs to be said, both Sean and Mark would call me out on my BS.
I called Candido out for going to too many networking events, but
I do.
Candido, by the way, what are you going to be doing in 2025?
Cutting down on those
More
events that
networking.
aren't making me money, that are not making me money. Yes.
So we do get that in. It's maybe not as hardcore as some others may have in their groups, but we do get some.
Well, I think the bottom line is we tie a bow on this episode for people listening, watching. You need people in your life like you guys have with the three of you, like Shane and I are for one another. One of my business partners in my other business last week, he called me and pissed me off. But I got off the phone and was like, are you mad because what he said's true or because he was being a jerk? And I was mad because what he said was true. And we should all have people in our lives that know us intimately enough to be able to call us out on the things we're not willing to talk about. Because everybody brings the topical things to the conversation, but the real people in my life, like they can say things to me based on what they know about me. And if you guys don't have that in your life, again, the listeners, go get it. Because I think we're only as good as the people we surround ourselves with. And so we should always be reconsidering and repositioning who is in it, who we allow to get close to us, not because we're better, but because as my goals change and as they elevate, I need other people in my life that can get me to that level. And so, guys, thank you. Yeah, Sean, go ahead.
I was saying, not because we're better, but because we want to be better.
100%, man. That's what it's all about. And so appreciate y'all coming on, having a candid conversation. Mark, missed you, brother. We'll get you on the next one. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Remember, if you are in need of a community, go to thecollectivecoaching.com. We're doing some really incredible things. We've got some cool things coming to end the year, to start the new year. And so come be a part of what we're doing. Ask questions. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one.